So I found this picture on the internet of somebody else who was modeling a pop can. And in this video, we're going to take a look at how do we texture the pop can so it looks like a character. If you look off to the side here, you'll notice that in this I think this is Blender, but they have a 3D model here of a can. But off to the side, they have a 2D representation or a label that's kind of pulled out of what the pop can would look like. And the reason that they do this in 3D applications is they have you create a two-dimensional almost drawn out version, because it makes it easier to draw on a 2D version versus a 3D. We are in Photoshop going to, in the next video, we're going to take a look at how we can paint directly onto our pop can, as well as jump between this 2D version. But what we need to do next is create the 2D version, which is called UVing. Alright, so here we are back in Maya. Let's go ahead and go to UV and open our UV editor. Now I'm going to hold the Windows key down and just right click to dock that. And then I'm going to dock my pop can off to the side here so you can see the 2D along with the 3D. So right off the bat you'll notice this looks nothing like a pop can or an unwrapped pop can. It looks like a weird dice shape. And the reason is because we started off with a cube, so it's trying to retain that original unwrap of what a cube looks like. So for example, if I make a cube, notice that it automatically comes unwrapped. So the 2D representation is here's our front face, here's our top, here's our side. So I'm going to go ahead and go to object mode and delete that. So let's, the very first thing I do is I right click on the can as a whole and I go to face mode. Then I double click the whole can so it selects all of the faces of the can. The next thing I do is I hold the shift key down and I right click and I go down to mapping and I go to planar map Z. And what that does is it takes up the 2D picture of our can on the Z axis. So that's why this looks like a flattened version of this. And then what I'm going to do is just scroll my wheel out. It's kind of the same structure inside of here. I'm holding Alt and middle mouse to pan around, zooming in and out with my wheel. I'm just going to move this off to the side because this area in here is my main area where I want to lay this out or flatten it out. So in order to do that, I'm going to go back to object mode and just select this guy. And I'm going to start adding some cuts. Now, what you're doing is you're not actually cutting this model. You're cutting up your 2D paper version. So I'm going to right click and go to edge mode. And I just want to add a cut across this label. Now you might be wondering, well, why are you cutting there, or how do you know to cut there? Well, when it comes to unwrapping, anytime there's a plane change, so this is a line that goes up and down, that's a flat plane. And then you'll notice when we get to this little nub here, this is a plane change. And then this is a plane change here. You want to cut that section out. This will make better sense at the end. It's kind of one of those things where you're like, you'll know better when you're older. Well, you're going to be older in about 10 minutes and it'll make better sense then. So what we're going to do is double click this edge. And in order to see it better in here, I'm also going to turn on this guy right here. It's our UV distortion. Notice that it's saying there's a lot of distortion going to happen here. There's a lot that's going to be in here. And we want it to be almost completely white in here. So there's a couple of tricks. We can go to cut UV here, or I'm going to go with the hotkey Shift X. So, and it only works when I'm inside of here. So I'm going to hit Shift and X. And you'll notice it created a little bit of a thicker line here. See that? Indicating that it's been cut. So I'm going to right click here and go to UV, and I'm just going to double click this top part. And you'll notice this top part here, all of these top UVs turned green, but none of these did. And the reason is because we cut this off. So with that double click, I'm going to hit W, and I'm going to move it up. Now a trick that I do is with all of these UVs selected, see how it has all of those top UVs, but none of these? I'm going to hold Shift and right click and go to unfold, or click unfold again. Now the shortcut to this is if you go to unfold here, you can click this unfold tool and it'll unfold it. And the more you unfold it, the more it'll kind of clean it out. And that's really, if you see that it's all white, you're okay. So I'm going to go ahead and hit E to rotate this a little bit. And then once I get it to where I like it to be, to know that I've got it as straight as possible, I'm just going to hit straighten shell. So let's do that again. It's straightening it according to that axis. So I want it more like this. So let's do it this way. Something like that. That's good. Alright, I'm going to do the same thing for the bottom. I'm going to go to edge mode. Kind of get in here. I'm going to hit 4 so you can see that. Double click that edge, right? Shift X, Shift and X to cut that. You'll notice it got a little thicker. Right click, go to UV mode, double click that. Hit W, move it down, hit this unfold button. Rotate that around like this. Hit W again, just move it up here. I'm going to hit R and just try to scale that up so it's roughly the same size as this guy. I'm going to show you a way of adding a checkerboard pattern so we could double check about distortion as well. The last thing I need to do is, do you remember from our thing here, we had this nicely pulled or unwrapped, it's kind of stretched out version of the can. We're going to do that right now. So now what I want to do is, because the Z axis is my front fold, on this, here, let's hit W so you can kind of see that a little bit better. So here's my Z axis. On the edge in the back of my can, I'm watching this. That's this edge here. So if I double click this edge, you'll notice it goes all the way around. I don't want that. So if I double click the edge in here, you'll notice it only selects the one edge. So, you know, we'll do it this way. I'm going to click this edge. Let's go to Q so we don't, our manipulator isn't affecting our view. So I'm going to hold Shift, click this edge, holding Alt, or I'm sorry, Shift, clicking that edge, and then I'm just kind of rotating around. So notice, I'm going to undo that. This can get a little tricky. I've selected only that edge that goes from this thick white line to here, and then in here I'm going to hit Shift and X to cut that again. Now, if we've done this properly, that means we've added a cut that goes all the way this way. If I go to UV mode here and double click this and I hit unfold, we should get something that looks like this, where it's a nicely pulled apart. So let's see if straighten shell, it worked on that, which is great. Now I'm going to go ahead and maximize this. Hit W, and I'm just going to start piecing these into this one here, the one that has the green and red going this way. I'm going to piece it all into this box here. I'm going to hit R, scale this down. Now a trick that I like to do to help me line all this stuff up is, you'll notice off here we have a transform box and there's a pivot. I make sure that it's centered, and then I scroll down here to, let's see, where's this guy at? Align and snap. And I just snap it to the bottom. And you'll notice that it's outside of that box, so I'm going to keep scaling it down a little bit until it's just inside. Snap it to the bottom like this. UV mode, double click this guy, snap this to the right corner. Double click this guy, snap that to the left corner. And then I don't want any dead space like that, so I'm going to fill this up as much as I can. And then again, just keep snapping it to that corner the best that I can. Hit R in here. And a great UV, I mean, I remember working with some of these amazing guys in the industry. One of them actually teaches, two of them actually, Dan, Justin, and just if you look at these guys' UVs, the cleanness of it or the spacing around it just looks phenomenal. All right, so this looks pretty good. It could be a little bit better, but for now I'm pretty happy with that. So in the next video, we're going to take a look at texturing this guy.